Hi guys, the man who threatened to climb Big Ben and bong for Brexit, Spartan Mark Francois, spoke to Sophy Ridge of Sky News about whether the DUP would back Rishi Sunak's deal with the EU over the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, Francois either doesn't understand Northern Ireland or was pretending not to when he discussed what was needed to get the support of the Democratic Unionist Party. He also asked for MPs to be given time to read and to understand the deal. Have a listen to this.
Well, we're joined now by the chair of the ERG group of Conservative MPs, Mark Francois. Firstly, you should say you've got a very important role in this with the chair of the group that you represent, Eurosceptic Conservatives. Now, we haven't seen the deal.
No.
You haven't seen the deal?
No.
We've got a few leaked details. What would you make of what we know so far?
Well, just quickly, the context. This is all about upholding the Good Friday Agreement. That's what everyone is trying to achieve. That's been the bedrock of peace in Northern Ireland for a quarter of a century. And the Prime Minister, writing in the Sunday Times this morning, said quite rightly that the protocol has now unbalanced the Good Friday Agreement.
No, it hasn't. Brexit has, not the protocol. And I've said this before, the DUP wanted a border on the island of Ireland because of Brexit. Now, if there was no Brexit, we wouldn't be talking about a Northern Ireland Protocol. Wouldn't be talking about any of this. We'd be talking about something else. But because of Brexit, a border had to go somewhere. If it went on the island of Ireland, then infrastructure would be required, and that would unbalance the Northern Ireland, the Good Friday Agreement. But instead, to avoid that problem, the protocol required having the border in the Irish Sea, which the UK government signed up to and Boris Johnson cheered on and sold to the British public as the oven-ready deal.
Late Lord Trimble, a Nobel laureate, he's the man that helped create the Good Friday Agreement with John Hume, said in May 2022, a few months before he sadly died, that he and John Hume had made great sacrifices to bring peace to Northern Ireland, and that was now all at risk. So this has to be solved so that we can uphold the Good Friday Agreement. That's the imperative. And in order to do that, we have to get a deal that both nationalists and unionists feel comfortable with, because
nationalists don't have a problem with the protocol. I've said before, the protocol is not perfect, but nationalists in Northern Ireland, the business community in Northern Ireland, don't have a problem with the protocol. The only people who have a problem with the protocol is the DUP and loyalists. But as I said before, they don't really have a problem with the protocol. They didn't get their way over Brexit.
The fundamental underlying principle that runs throughout the Good Friday Agreement like a golden thread is the principle of consent.
So that
there was no consent of Northern Ireland when it came to Brexit. When it came to the Northern Ireland Protocol, the oven-ready deal, which was part of the withdrawal agreement, there was no consent when it came to Northern Ireland. So when it came to Brexit as a whole, Northern Ireland was not consulted. Northern Ireland is in the most difficult position when it comes to Brexit, but they were not consulted. The people of Northern Ireland were not consulted. The Assembly in Northern Ireland was not consulted. So there's no point talking about consent here.
feels important, doesn't it? Because you talk about the unionists, the DUP, the main unionist party. Are you effectively saying that if they don't support the deal, you're not going to support it either?
Well, the government is saying that. The Foreign Secretary said on Friday that the government would not sign off on any protocol deal without the DUP's backing. So that's James Cleverly saying that. And I think that's just a practical reality. Because if the DUP don't consent to the deal, then it's simply not going to fly. And that's been absolutely obvious right from the word go. Now,
so what is the solution? We keep talking about pandering to the DUP. But what is the DUP as an alternative? Have they presented an alternative to the protocol? No, they haven't. Yeah, if the DUP come up with this is a practical solution to the problems caused by the Northern Ireland Protocol, then we could have a listen. We could listen to them. We could look at it. We could scrutinise their proposal. But they've come up with nothing. All they want to do is break the protocol.
The DUP are friends and allies of ourselves and the European Research Group. We admire them. Why? When a lot of these people went into politics, some decades ago, they did that knowing that their lives might be under threat from the Provisional IRA, one of the most ruthless terrorist organisations in the world. I mean, Sophie, none of your viewers, I'm sure, had to look under their car before they went to work in the week. But the people in the DUP had to do that every day for many years.
Many people had to do that every day in Northern Ireland. Why are you focusing only on the DUP here? Have you ever heard of a lawyer, a solicitor called Finucane, who was killed by loyalist paramilitaries? The security services had to look under their car every day. Members of the Republican organisations had to look under their car every day. Members of Sinn Féin. You know, Gerry Adams during the peace process, Gerry Adams was brought to Stormont in an armoured taxi. So, you know, it's not just the DUP that were concerned about their safety. Many people in Northern Ireland, including non-politicians.
But they went to work anyway. So the point is, these people won't be bullied by anybody. They will make their own decision on whether or not it's right to agree to the deal and to re-enter Stormont.
We know, don't we, what they're going to say? Because they said it on PMQs. They said that we're not going to back a deal if the European Courts of Justice have any oversight over it, which we know effectively that they will, and also that the text itself has to be rewritten. That's also not going to happen. So the DUP aren't going to back the deal, right?
Well, the DUP are more than capable of speaking for themselves. They are not shrinking violets.
But we can read between the lines of what they're saying.
Well,
and to me, it doesn't feel like they're going to back the deal.
They have been frighteningly consistent, including to us, that their bottom line is they absolutely cannot accept a deal that means EU law is still superior to UK law in Northern Ireland. If there's no EU law in Northern Ireland, there's nothing for the European Court of Justice to adjudicate upon. Now, we don't know what is in this.
There are businesses in Northern Ireland. I covered one this week or last week. For example, when it comes to dairy production, milk that is produced in Northern Ireland and sold in the Republic of Ireland. It has to follow EU standards. EU law. Now, is Mark Francois and the DUP suggesting that these farmers and these producers in Northern Ireland stop producing to keep the DUP happy because the DUP didn't get their way on Brexit? Is that the solution? So the ECJ should be removed in order to keep the DUP happy because they didn't get their way in having a hard border on the island of Ireland. Let's call a spade here. Let's be honest about this. The DUP wanted, and I'm sorry to keep repeating this, but it doesn't seem to be getting through to some people. The DUP wanted a hard border on the island of Ireland. They didn't want to go into government with Sinn Féin, so they're blocking everything over the protocol. At the beginning, Jeffrey Donaldson was singing the praises of the protocol. Then when he realised, I'll have to go into government with Sinn Féin and Sinn Féin will have the position of First Minister. Oh, okay, I'm not playing ball here. I'm taking the ball and going home with it. And I'm expecting everyone in the EU, in the UK, in the Irish Republic to pander to me. It's frustrating. And you have British politicians attempting to pander to the DUP again. EU law has to be applied in Northern Ireland if businesses in Northern Ireland want to sell into the single market. If you don't want the ECJ has to adjudicate over EU law. If you don't want EU law in Northern Ireland, then businesses in Northern Ireland are going to suffer. You're going to take away that unique privilege that Northern Ireland has access to the single market. It's a member of the single market when it comes to goods. It has that important access. You're going to take that away for what? To keep the DUP happy for 5 minutes and then they'll be angry about something else. You need to face these people down.
Deal. We haven't seen the legal text. Why does that matter? Because if you're talking about altering protocols or treaties, that always comes down to a definitive legal text. They've made very plain that they will not sign up to anything until they've read the legal text. I mean, we're in the same position. What MP worth their salt would vote for something without having read it?
He said that with a straight face. What MP would sign up to something without reading it? He signed up to the withdrawal agreement, the oven-ready deal. He voted for it without reading it. As far as I remember. Well, members of the ERG certainly did. I think every MP, every Tory MP voted for the withdrawal agreement. Boris Johnson's oven-ready deal. When it came to the TCA, MPs within the Conservative Party, including Brexiteers, voted for it without reading it. Ian Duncan Donuts, created an amendment, I believe, or it was a rule in Parliament, to stop MPs from actually reading these agreements. Ian Duncan Smith said at the time, look, we've had 3 years to read about Brexit. We don't need to read the withdrawal agreement. We don't need to understand it before voting on it. And it was pushed through, and MPs on both sides were not able to properly scrutinise the withdrawal agreement, the oven-ready deal. And now he's saying no MP worth their salt would vote for something without reading it? With a straight face? These people are pathetic. Charlatans. And unfortunately, I have this fear that there's going to be more pandering to the DUP. The DUP, once again, and you can end the video here if you want because I'm repeating myself, but the DUP wanted a hard border on the island of Ireland. They didn't get their way, so they took the ball and walked away with it, and are expecting everyone to plead with them to come back. Rishi Sunak needs to explain to them, we're not playing your games. If you want to stay out, then stay out. What we'll do is we'll work some sort of agreement with the Irish government. We're going to impose legislation in Northern Ireland that you don't like. If you want to play hardball with me, I'll play hardball with you. I have the votes in Parliament to get this through. If your friends in the ERG rebel, I'll take away the whip. If the ERG still rebel, what I'll do is I'll get it through with the Labour Party. They have said, yeah, we'll support you. So you're not going to win here. And and if you don't support it, and I still have to go through with this, I'm going to really punish you. So this is what Rishi Sunak should be doing, but I'm afraid Rishi Sunak is too weak. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.